tell me just what today means to you to see this candidate that you backed early on? And you talked about this when he was 1% in the polls, and now he's the new governor of the state of Maryland, the first African American in the history of the state.
Well, obviously it's a historic day because he's the first African American. But really what it means to me is not so much the fact that he's an African American. That's an important facet of who he is, the experiences he's had, and the empathy he displays. But the real significance is the content of his character, the kind of experiences that he's had, the kind of passion that he brings to this job, and the kind of vision he has for the state of Maryland. That's what I really think is important, because that's going to make a difference day to day, week to week, month to month during these 4 years and perhaps 8 years to come. I think he's going to bring an energy and a vision, an empathy, and a determination to his job.
Talk about that passion and that empathy that you speak of that I saw certainly on the campaign trail, and how that will translate to basically the things that he wants to accomplish, because he said he wants to move fast.
Well, first let me say that passion that you and I saw is what the Maryland public saw. That's why he won an overwhelming election, because they really felt this is a person who cares about me. He's got a phrase, leave no one behind, but it's much more than a phrase for him, because he grew up, and as he said in his book, The Other West, he could have gone one way or the other. I think, frankly, Joy, his mother, had a lot to do with who Wes Moore is. I told her that last night. She is a wonderful person. Not only is she named Joy, she is Joy. And she imbued Wes with this sense of responsibility, the sense of service, the sense of being the best that he could be. And that's what he's done. And I think that what we're going to see day to day is a person who wants to get things done. You know, he served in the 82nd Airborne as an officer leading men and women whose lives were under his care. And he knew a sense of personal responsibility, and you got to get it done, you got to get it done right, and you got to get it done today. So we're going to see from the first day, as he said, today's a day of celebration, tomorrow's a work day.
Right.
He's going to get to work. And what we saw earlier this week, where he went from place to place in Maryland, from the Eastern Shore to Western Maryland, the mountains in Western Maryland, to Baltimore City, to Baltimore County, Prince George's, Montgomery County. He went all over this state. And the message he was sending is, I am the governor of all. I wasn't elected by everybody. I didn't get 100%. Nobody gets 100%. But I am the governor for every man, woman, and child in this state. And I want to make your lives better. You know, he and Aruna Miller are an extraordinary team, and she's going to be focused on education, on STEM, on transportation, how we get to and from work and to and from school and to and from work, you know, where we want to have pleasure. They are an extraordinary team for this state, an experienced team. Some people said, you know, well, he hasn't been in politics. I think the public probably thought that was pretty good, frankly, but he has been in so many different experiences that have informed him of how all of us have challenges in life and how we overcome those challenges. And that's what I'm so excited about. And that's frankly why early on I wasn't going to endorse, because I knew all the candidates. They were all friends of mine. I'd worked with them over the years. You know, I've been at this business a long time, so I knew them all, and they were all good people. But what I saw in Wes Moore, and what I came to learn as we became friends over this past year, was a person who had unique ability to inspire. Inspire. That's what a leader has to do. Have a vision, have a goal, have objectives, say this is where we want to go. But he then needs to, or she needs to, inspire people to do it. And that's what Wes Moore can do.
And going from that inspiration to governing and being a governor for all people, that is a tall order, let's be honest. Right?
Absolutely.
You have different types of interests that want to tug you in different directions. This is a blue state, yet they've had a Republican governor for 2 terms. And you know, even he said to me, Governor Hogan said to me, he's worried about sliding the other way. How do you balance that to make sure you represent all the interests?
Well, let me tell you why I think Hogan was effective and popular, because people viewed him as representing all of them, not a left or right, but somebody who was a can-do, let's get the job done for you, for our state, for our people. Wes brings that same kind of sense. As he says, in leading men and women in the 82nd Airborne, he didn't care whether they're Republicans or Democrats. He didn't care whether they're rich or poor, black or white, young or, I guess none of them were old like me, but he has the experience of knowing that you rely on people because of what they can do, what they do, and how important they are in the overall scheme of things. And every person he led had to do their job, or the others would be at risk. So when he says leave no one behind, he understands that everyone makes a difference. And he exudes that. And it's not phony. It's not some, oh yeah, you're a good guy, we care about all of you. He really has lived that, and he lived it as the head of the Robin Hood, which is one of the biggest foundations in our country to make sure that people can make it in America, make it in Maryland, make it in their lives. And he raised an extraordinary sum of money, worked very hard, and led that organization to help people, lift them up, and make them productive citizens. His view is obviously the better each of us do, the better all of us do.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you talked about some issues, important issues that he will have to deal with: education, transportation. Crime is a big one you didn't mention, but that you're talking about Baltimore City, where he's from. Prince George's County has had tremendous crime issues. What are the issues that he has to tackle first, and what advice would you give him to address these issues, to give the public a sense that he's really on top of the things that?
Well, I think they're going to see his energy. Number one, he's got a lot of energy. He's a young man. He's 44 years of age, just had a birthday, and he's exudes a sense of the power to get things done. And frankly, if you do that, you get things done. And I think also you asked about a number of issues, obviously housing, crime, transportation, education, healthcare, all of these very, very important issues in the everyday life of every Marylander. And Wes points out that, look, you don't take one of them, you got to take all of them. You got to have a holistic view. And you want to deal with jobs for people. You want to deal with transportation. You want to deal with education of their children and of their continuing education as adults. You want to deal, obviously, with their health care. So it's not a choice of this, that, or the other. And I think you're going to have some focus. I think the Lieutenant Governor, Runa Miller, who herself is a historic figure, is going to have some specific tasks. Wes said last night that she was going to be the most consequential lieutenant governor in the country. Why? Because he's going to give her tasks, because he knows how able she is, an experienced legislator, an engineer, somebody who, what do engineers do? They put things together, they make things work. And she's going to focus on STEM education, she's going to focus on education, and of course she's a transportation expert. So they're going to have a great team dealing with all those issues you just pointed out, Leonard, because if you don't deal with all of those issues, if you deal with them just segmentally, you want to have safe communities. You want to have neighborhoods that are safe. Every community, the black community, the white community, every community wants to have a safe neighborhood. They want their kids not to be subject to being shot while they're playing in the playground. That's not some people look at it as a racial, it's not a racial issue. It's a human issue. And Wes understands that. And Wes understands, he's been at war. He understands what the lack of good order means, and the trying to do things by gun as opposed to by peace. And I think he's going to be tough on crime. He's going to want to make sure that people behave and don't threaten others' property and persons. But he's also going to understand their root causes. That's about what the other West was about. Root causes that lead to people making good decisions or tragically bad decisions. And that experience and that conviction, I think, is going to have him work on all those issues. And he has the capability to work on all of them. You know, he's a Rhodes Scholar. He's a Hopkins graduate. He's a smart guy.
Right.
And so he can deal with more than one thing at a time.
Talk about the historic moment of today. As we talked about earlier, the fact that this is the third African American in the nation's history. I mean, when you think about that, as long as our country is...
One of them was there last night, DeVal Patrick, from Massachusetts. And he talked about Doug Wilder, the other.
Right. I mean, how far have we come in your mindset? I know your age and how much you've seen. How far have we come?
We've come a long way. John Lewis, my dear, dear friend, who died not too long ago, said we've come a long way. But as King said, and the Johnson brothers, you know, the song "Lift Every Voice and Sing," at the end it is facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory's won. Victory's not won. Victory's not won until you don't have young people seeing themselves in a dead end road or a cul-de-sac, and they just keep going round and round, where they see opportunity. You haven't gotten victory until people have access to affordable quality health care so that every American can be healthy. You don't have success until you have people who have security in their lives, whether it's Social Security, whether it's a retirement pension program, good salaries so that they can live and support themselves and their family. That's victory. And we don't have that yet. But we've come a long way. We've come a long way. You know that. As a black man, you know that. You look back on your father or your grandfather or your great-grandfather, the lives and the challenges that they had, and the discrimination and hate. But do we have discrimination and hate and prejudice today? We absolutely do. And we need to keep fighting racism and sexism and anti-Semitism and all the isms that people still harbor by understanding, as King said, it's content of character, not color of skin, not religion, not how do you act, how do you deal with others. Wes Moore and military people who are in battle know that, because all of the isms and the differences become irrelevant, and what becomes relevant is what we can do together.
In terms of Wes, new Governor Wes Moore, many people have mentioned him as a possible presidential candidate. I mean, before he's even taken the oath of office here. Is there a danger in that, and do you have any concerns that perhaps all that will get to his head, or do you think that he's just going to trudge forward and be the best governor of Maryland that he could be?
The latter. He understands you do one job at a time. Ben Franklin said the secret of a successful person is concentrating on what they're doing at that time. And that's Wes Moore. People talk. He ran for governor. He wants to be the best governor Maryland has ever had for the next 4 years, and I think for the next 8 years. So that's what Wes is about. Are people going to talk? People will talk. He's an extraordinarily charismatic, exciting, smart, energetic, all those assets that he has. But he's directing those to be the best governor Maryland's ever had. And the talk will take care of itself. But there's no doubt in my mind, and Wes and I have had this discussion, his conviction is, Steny, I want to be the best governor Maryland's had. And that's what I'm working on. That's what I was elected to do, and that's what I'm going to do. The rest will take care of itself at some point in time, maybe. But right now, he's the governor of Maryland.
Yeah. And last question, his unique background, how does it prepare him for this challenge, for this time? Military, businessman, African-American, history. How does it prepare him for the job?
You have to understand people. You have to understand their challenges. You have to understand their fears and their hopes. Wes Moore, in all those experiences, got a better understanding of different kinds of people, different stratas. He's seen the very rich and the very well-educated. He's seen the poor and the threatened. So all of those experiences that he's had as a very successful person in big business, and a successful person, small business, as an author, as a philanthropist, he has seen the people. You know, the people want to be seen. There's a great ad I love, I think it's for psoriasis, and it says, see me. Don't look away. See me. Understand me. Know what I'm challenged by. Know what I want to do. Know what I can do. That's Wes Moore.